What narcissists do when no one is watching. On the surface, they can seem confident, charming, even untouchable. But behind closed doors, the mask slips, and what happens in their private world is far more unsettling than most people realize. Alone, they are not simply scrolling on their phones or relaxing like everyone else. They are replaying arguments in their heads, plotting new ways to manipulate, even obsessing over their reflection in ways that might shock you. Some of the things they secretly do reveal just how fragile the ego really is, while others show a darker, almost disturbing side that rarely comes to light. By the end of this, you'll see narcissists in a way you've never seen them before, completely unfiltered, exposed, and deeply revealing. Stick around until the end, because the last point will change the way you look at them forever. And if you've ever dealt with someone like this, I'd love to hear your experience in the comments. Your story might help someone else. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the truths most people are too afraid to talk about. When narcissists are left alone, one of the most disturbing things they often do is rehearse conversations that never actually happened. In their mind, they step into a world where they are always the smartest, the most powerful, and the one who has the final word. They replay old arguments, but this time they twist the outcome so they come out on top, delivering the perfect comeback or the flawless speech that leaves the other person speechless. Sometimes they even create entire imaginary scenarios, practicing how they would handle future situations, whether it's confronting a partner, a friend, or even a boss. These rehearsals are not harmless daydreams. They serve a deeper purpose. For the narcissist, this practice feeds their fragile ego, giving them a sense of control and superiority that reality often denies them. By scripting these fake victories, they create a private fantasy where they never lose, never get embarrassed, and never face the shame of being wrong. It's like a secret stage where they are both the star and the audience, clapping for themselves in the spotlight. This hidden behavior reveals just how much energy they pour into protecting their image, even when no one is there to see it. When a narcissist is alone, the mirror often becomes their most trusted companion. To others, glancing in the mirror might just be about checking hair or clothes, but for them, it's something much deeper and much more unsettling. They will stand in front of their reflection for long stretches of time, studying every detail of their face, not out of insecurity alone, but as part of a performance. They practice charm, rehearsing that perfect smile that can disarm or seduce. They study anger, fixing their expression into a look that intimidates and instills fear. And perhaps most disturbing, they perfect their innocent victim face, the wide eyes, the wounded look that they can later use to gain sympathy, dodge responsibility, or make others feel guilty. This ritual of shaping their appearance into masks is not about vanity in the simple sense. It's about power and control. The mirror becomes a training ground where they craft the identities they will wear in the outside world. Each practiced look is a weapon, ready to be pulled out when the moment is right. What seems like self-admiration is actually self-engineering, a private rehearsal for the manipulation that will come later. When narcissists are alone, one of their most common and secretive habits is obsessively stalking people online. They will spend hours scrolling through the social media pages of ex-partners, rivals, co-workers, or even so-called friends, carefully examining every post, photo, or comment. To the outside world, it may look like harmless browsing, but for them, it's a competitive sport. Every like, every smiling picture, every success someone else shares becomes fuel for comparison. If the person appears happy, the narcissist feels a sting of envy and may immediately begin plotting ways to tear them down or prove they're doing better. If they spot a flaw or a sign of struggle, it gives them a sense of satisfaction, almost as if they've scored a hidden victory. This isn't casual curiosity. It's an obsession rooted in insecurity and control. Social media becomes a private battlefield where they measure their worth against others, searching for evidence that they are superior, more attractive, more successful, or more admired. And when they don't find that validation, the scrolling often leaves them angry, bitter, and more determined to regain power. Alone in front of a screen, they feed a cycle of envy and ego that never truly ends. When narcissists are by themselves, they often retreat into a mental highlight reel of their so-called victories. These are not the kind of warm memories most people revisit, like family milestones or personal achievements. Instead, they replay moments when they humiliated someone, outsmarted a rival, or skillfully manipulated a situation to their advantage. In their mind, they relive the smirk on their face, the sting of their cutting words, or the silence of someone who didn't know how to respond. Each replay is polished and exaggerated, making them appear even more brilliant and powerful than they actually were. This mental loop is more than just nostalgia. It's a feeding ground for their fragile ego. By revisiting these victories, they reassure themselves that they are in control, superior, and never truly beaten. It becomes a private celebration where they are the hero of their own story, even if the real event wasn't as triumphant as they remember. The disturbing part is that these moments of cruelty or manipulation are not seen as wrong in their mind. They are seen as proof of dominance, something to be proud of. Alone, they replay these scenes over and over, like trophies kept in a hidden cabinet only they can open. When narcissists are alone, one of the most unsettling things they do is rewrite reality inside their own mind. They will take past events, conflicts, failures, even moments where they were clearly at fault, and twist the story until they are no longer responsible. In their retelling, they are either the hero who was unfairly unappreciated or the victim who was cruelly mistreated, but never the villain who caused harm. If they lied, they convinced themselves it was necessary. If they hurt someone, they reframe it as self-defense. If someone exposed their behavior, they tell themselves that person was jealous, dishonest, or trying to destroy them. Alone, they rewrite the script so thoroughly that they begin to believe it themselves, building a false memory that protects their fragile ego from guilt or accountability. This mental rewriting is not just denial, it's survival for them. Admitting fault would shatter the perfect image they desperately cling to. So instead they bend reality until it fits the narrative they want. To outsiders, it may look like dishonesty, but to the narcissist, it becomes their truth. Alone in their thoughts, they are always the righteous one, rewriting history one distorted memory at a time. When narcissists are left to their own thoughts, one of the darkest corners of their private world is their obsession with revenge. They can spend long stretches of time fantasizing about punishing the people who dared to criticize, reject, or abandon them. These revenge fantasies are not vague, fleeting thoughts. They are often detailed, vivid, and fueled by raw emotion. They might picture humiliating someone publicly, destroying their reputation, or finding a way to make that person come crawling back in regret. Sometimes the scenarios play out like a script in their mind, with the narcissist standing tall and powerful while the other person is left broken or ashamed. These fantasies give them a temporary sense of control and superiority, soothing the deep wound to their ego. What makes this so disturbing is that, while many people might daydream about getting even, narcissists feed on these thoughts as a source of pleasure, almost like fuel for their pride. Alone, they replay these scenarios over and over, each time adding more detail, more drama, and more imagined satisfaction. It becomes a private theater of revenge where they always win and their enemies always pay. When narcissists are alone, one of the most unsettling things they do is create false narratives, carefully weaving stories they will later use to manipulate the people around them. These stories are not random lies. They are crafted with purpose, shaped to gain sympathy, admiration, or control. In the privacy of their thoughts, they begin rehearsing versions of reality where they are the victim of terrible mistreatment, the misunderstood genius, or the heroic figure who overcame impossible odds. They decide which details to highlight, which facts to distort, and which truths to erase entirely. By the time they share the story with others, it sounds convincing because they've already rehearsed it countless times in their own mind. What makes this behavior so disturbing is that these narratives are designed to exploit emotions. If they want sympathy, They might paint themselves as the wounded soul who has been betrayed by everyone they trusted. If they want admiration, they may invent exaggerated tales of accomplishments, success, or influence. If they crave control, they can twist events so that someone else looks guilty, dishonest, or unstable, while they appear calm and innocent. Each story serves as a mask, shielding them from accountability and placing them in the most favorable light possible. Over time, these false narratives become so ingrained that even the narcissist may start to believe them. Alone, they edit and rewrite their past like an author perfecting a manuscript, removing scenes that expose their flaws and adding ones that elevate their image. This habit makes it nearly impossible for them to take responsibility for their actions, because in their rewritten version of reality, they were never wrong in the first place. They are either the savior who deserves praise or the victim who deserves pity, but never the villain who caused harm. This mental storytelling doesn't stop in their private space. Once the narrative is polished, they take it into the real world and use it like a weapon. They share it with friends, family, or co-workers, slowly shaping how others see the situation. If they've hurt someone, the story will be flipped so that they were the one who suffered. If someone exposed their behavior, the narrative will claim that person was jealous, unstable, or even dangerous. This tactic isolates their target, wins the narcissist new allies, and cements their false image as someone admirable or misunderstood. In the end, creating false narratives is not just lying. It's a calculated survival strategy. For the narcissist, the truth is flexible, something to be molded until it serves their ego. Alone, they are like scriptwriters of their own lives, preparing performances that keep others confused, guilty, or impressed. And the most unsettling part? These stories often sound so believable that people don't question them, leaving the narcissist free to continue rewriting reality at the expense of everyone else. When narcissists are alone, their imagination often turns into a private stage where they act as both the star and the audience. One of their most peculiar and disturbing habits is talking to themselves as though a crowd is watching, hanging on to every word. They may give fake speeches in front of the mirror, rehearsing a moment where they command respect and admiration from an invisible audience. At times, they stage imaginary interviews, where every question is perfectly set up to make them look brilliant, successful, or misunderstood in just the right way. Some even go as far as pretending to receive awards, acceptance speeches filled with gratitude, charm, and just enough vulnerability to win hearts. In these scenarios, they are the celebrated figure, the misunderstood genius, or the flawless hero who deserves recognition. This isn't just harmless daydreaming. It reflects a deep craving for validation. Alone, without real applause, they create their own applause. Every word, every gesture, every imagined reaction is carefully designed to feed their ego and maintain the illusion that they are extraordinary. These rehearsed performances serve a purpose. Later, when they interact with real people, the narcissist already has a bank of polished expressions, stories, and tones to pull from. The charm that seems so natural in public is often crafted and practiced in private, over and over again. What makes this behavior disturbing is how much energy is invested into an imaginary world where they are always adored, never criticized, never ordinary. While others might casually daydream about success, narcissists live inside these mental performances as if they are real. To them, fantasy is just as important as reality because it keeps their fragile self-image alive. Without this self-created audience, they would have to face the silence of being alone, and that silence is unbearable. In their private theater, they can be anything: the star of a blockbuster, the author of a best-selling book, the groundbreaking leader, or the misunderstood victim finally getting recognition. These monologues are not about inspiration or practice for a real goal. They are about control over perception. They cannot risk being seen as average or flawed. So even when no one else is there, they work tirelessly to create a flawless version of themselves, admired by an invisible crowd. Ultimately, Talking to themselves like an audience exists exposes how fragile and dependent their ego really is. The imaginary spotlight reassures them that they are special, important, and above others. But beneath the performance lies a deep emptiness, one that no amount of fake speeches or imaginary applause can truly fill. Still, in their private world, they remain the star of a show that never ends, endlessly applauding themselves in the shadows. When narcissists are left alone, one of the ways they feed their fragile ego is by digging through old messages, photos, and memories from past relationships. What might seem like a nostalgic trip down memory lane, for most people takes on a very different meaning for them. They aren't looking back with warmth or sentiment. They are searching for proof, evidence that they were desired, admired, or powerful. A text from an ex pleading for another chance, a compliment buried in a conversation, or a picture where someone's eyes were clearly focused on them. These small fragments become trophies in their private world. They scroll and reread, replaying the validation that once came so easily, soaking it up again as if it were fresh. But it doesn't stop at reliving the admiration. Many times, they also look for signs of control they once had, especially in past romantic relationships. The "I miss you" texts, the late-night calls, the moments of jealousy, all of these remind them of the grip they held over someone else's emotions. Even if the relationship ended badly, the narcissist can twist those memories into proof that they were irresistible or that the other person could never truly let them go. This archive of old interactions serves as a backup supply of ego fuel when no one is around to feed them in the present. What's even more unsettling is that these private sessions often leave them bitter or angry, especially if they come across signs that someone has moved on or is happier without them. Instead of letting go, the narcissist may spiral into fantasies of re-entering that person's life, reminding them of what they lost, or even punishing them for daring to live without their influence. The past becomes a hunting ground, not for closure or reflection, but for ammunition, something they can use later to reassert control or to paint themselves as the victim who was unfairly abandoned. To outsiders, these moments of scrolling through old chats or flipping through pictures might look harmless, but in the private world of a narcissist, it's part of an ongoing cycle of self-obsession and control. The photos and messages aren't just memories, they are evidence of past conquests, proof of worth, and reminders that they once commanded attention. Alone, the narcissist clings to these fragments like fuel, convincing themselves that they were, and still are, the center of someone else's world. And in that quiet, digital archive, they build the illusion that their power never really faded, even when reality tells a very different story. When we peel back the surface charm, the curated smiles, and the polished performances that narcissists so carefully project to the world, what we find in their solitude is both unsettling and revealing. Alone, stripped of the applause, validation, and attention they desperately crave, narcissists retreat into an inner theater, a dark, glittering stage where they are the writer, actor, and audience all at once. And in that solitude, their most disturbing secrets come alive. Consider the way they rehearse conversations that never happened, scripting elaborate victories over imagined enemies or difficult confrontations. These rehearsals are not harmless daydreams. They are ego rehearsals, private victories that feed the fragile sense of superiority they struggle to maintain. In their mind, no one dares to challenge them without being humiliated, silenced, or destroyed. By the time they step into reality, they have already won battles that never existed. This need to dominate, even in imagination, reveals how empty and fragile their true sense of self really is. Then there is their obsession with reflection, practicing smiles, rehearsing anger, crafting the innocent victim look that will later disarm and manipulate. While most people glance in the mirror for grooming, the narcissist studies it like a weapon. Every angle of their face is a tool, every expression rehearsed for maximum impact. Alone with their reflection, they are not admiring beauty, they are perfecting control. Their solitude is also filled with voyeurism. They stalk people online, Exes, rivals, former friends, even strangers, scrolling obsessively, measuring themselves against others, looking for proof of superiority or betrayal. Each post they see is fuel, either for their envy or their gloating. The act itself is more than curiosity. It is compulsion. Social media becomes their secret battlefield, where likes and photos turn into evidence of worth or wounds to their pride. They watch, they compare, and they silently compete in contests no one else even knows they are part of. But perhaps most haunting is the way they replay past victories. In their solitude, they relive the moments they deceived, humiliated, or manipulated others. Each replay strengthens the illusion of their cleverness, their dominance, their supposed brilliance. These memories are polished and reimagined until they gleam brighter than the truth. It's not just remembering, it's relishing cruelty, feeding on it, savoring it like a hidden delicacy. At the same time, they rewrite reality itself. Memories are twisted, stories reframed, events reshaped until they emerge as either the hero or the victim, but never the villain. This constant rewriting of history serves a dual purpose. It protects their ego from collapse, and it arms them with narratives to control others later. Alone, they become architects of false realities, ones they'll later unleash to win sympathy, admiration, or power. But narcissists don't just manipulate memories, they weaponize fantasies. Their revenge imaginings are not fleeting. They are detailed, indulgent, and often cruel. They imagine punishments for those who dared to reject, criticize, or abandon them. The revenge plays out in vivid detail, confrontations where the narcissist stands triumphant, and their enemy is humiliated or destroyed. For them, these fantasies are more than entertainment. They are fuel, restoring a temporary sense of control over wounds that never healed. Sometimes, this private theater even expands into full-blown performances. Alone, narcissists may speak as though an audience exists, giving fake speeches, accepting imaginary awards, or playing out interviews where they shine. These performances reveal their constant hunger for admiration, even when no one is around. They live in a world where the spotlight is never off, even if the applause is silent and imagined. And then, in their loneliest hours, they dig through old messages, photos, and memories of relationships. But unlike nostalgia, this is not about warmth or longing. It is about evidence. They search for proof of how desired, admired, or powerful they once were. Every message, every photograph becomes a relic of their worth, a reminder that they were once adored. It's not love they are remembering, it's supply. It's proof of what they could extract from others, and a reminder of the control they once held. This private world is disturbing not because these behaviors are loud or obvious, but because they are hidden and obsessive. The narcissist's solitude is not quiet. It is crowded, with enemies, with fake victories, with rehearsed faces, with memories twisted into weapons, with fantasies dripping in revenge. Their loneliness is not stillness, it is noise, an unending performance where they are always at the center, always in control, always glowing in the neon spotlight of their own imagination. And yet, beneath all this, lies the uncomfortable truth. These rituals expose their fragility more than their power. Every fake conversation, every obsessive stalk, every relived victory, and every invented narrative is evidence of a hollow self that cannot rest. While they appear to thrive in control, their solitude betrays how desperately they need illusions just to survive their own reflection. They cannot sit still with themselves because the silence reveals the truth they fear most, that their identity is an empty mask. So, what do these disturbing secrets really tell us? They reveal that narcissists live in constant performance mode, even when no one is watching. They are actors who never step off stage, prisoners of their own script. Their inner world, which should be a place of rest and honesty, is instead a battlefield of ego repair, obsession, and control. And while these secrets may never be confessed out loud, they leave clues in the way narcissists interact with others, through their need for control, their rehearsed charm, their twisted stories, and their hunger for revenge. By peering into their solitude, we see not strength, but fragility, not confidence, but fear, not authenticity, but endless performance. What narcissists secretly do when alone may seem dark, manipulative, even cruel, but ultimately, it reveals a truth more tragic than terrifying, that they are forever at war with the emptiness inside.